Welcome to Darryl's Beekeeping videos, where I teach beekeepers of all skill levels about the art and science of beekeeping. I'm a master beekeeper, and my articles have been published many times in magazines such as American Bee Journal, Bee Culture, Beekeeping Your First 3 Years, and the Bee Buzz. Now let's get on with the lesson. So today we're going to talk about smokers. Smokers come in various sizes, anywhere from a small child's smoker that does not have the protective cage on it. So if you buy the child's version, make sure that you don't actually put a fire inside it, otherwise you're running the risk of burning your child's hand. Please don't do that. But again, if you want to include your kids when you're doing your apiary work, it's a great tool to have. They think they're helping you out. It's a great bonding experience with your children. But as far as actual smokers that you're actually going to use, they range anywhere from this 4-inch diameter by 7-inch fire chamber smoker to a 4 by 10-inch tall smoker that's typically used when you have more aggressive hives, mostly in the south and southwest, where you have some Africanized honeybees where you're constantly smoking the bees. Or some people just prefer the larger burn chamber simply so they don't have to replace the fuel as much. So we're going to talk briefly about the smoker itself, and I'll talk about the fuel, and then I'm going to show you how I light mine. So on the smoker you have a protective handguard. They do make versions of the smoker that don't have this protective handguard. I recommend you don't buy that because, again, think about it. You've got a burn chamber, there's fire in here, and it gets very hot and you'll burn your hands really quickly. Also, this cage has this nice little grip here that you can use to grip onto the side of a hive body, or in my case, I've got raised hive stands that I've made. I can actually just hook it onto one of the 2x6s and then just rest it there should I choose to, or you can just set it on the ground, either one. The smoker consists of a fire chamber, so basically the lid just rotates off, and in the bottom of the chamber there is a metal disc that's used to create a gap between the bottom of the burner and the fire chamber and also your fuel. And what that does, that allows the airspace. I'm going to put this back in now. It just pops in and sets down. And then what on the back side of it, you'll see there, you can't see it in the photo up in this video, but you'll see there's actually a small hole between the bellows and the fire chamber. And I'm going to use that to puff air into the fire chamber. It goes underneath that metal plate that I just told you about. It goes up, filters up through the fuel, and then comes out the top as cool smoke. All right, so that's basically the component parts of a smoker. So now we're going to talk about the different fuels. Basically, you can use anything that burns, except do not use liquids or petroleum-based fuel. So you can use anything from, if it burns, you can use it. You can use something as simple as cardboard. You can use burlap. You can get burlap at your local supply store. You can get it on Amazon. Just roll it up. Same thing with cardboard. You just roll it up, and then you take either a small butane lighter or one of those little burner canisters, and then start this up. Again, lighter works as well. Just with the burlap, it's going to take a little bit longer to light. You can also use raw cotton. So if you live near the south and you have these cotton fields, you can actually talk to the owner and buy some of their waste. In my case, I just bought this for demonstration purposes from my local bee store. In my area, it's about $4 a bag. Again, you can use this. It creates great smoke if you want to. You can also buy these little smoker pellets. They look like rabbit food, as I call it, just compressed pellets. You'll find them in smokers as well, for like if you're smoking meat or something like that. That's basically what it reminds me of. Again, I got it from my local bee supply for demonstration purposes. It's about $5 for a 5-pound bag. But what I use, because I'm in the South, I'm in North Carolina, and what we have is everywhere you have this long leaf pine straw, and it's free. If you're in the northern climates, go to your local nursery. They probably sell it there for about $3 to $5 per bale, and a bale will last you an entire year or more. So what I do is, this is my favorite fuel. I'll show you how to light it here in a minute. But basically what I do is I go up and I rake up a bag full, a large trash bag full of this, and I store it in my storage shed. I never bring it in the house so I don't bring in critters. I store it inside my shed, so that way I have got dry fuel anytime I want to use it. The other thing I do is I'll typically inside, not only do I have it inside of a trash bag, I will also keep a little 5-gallon bucket that I can use it just to drag it around. This is much easier to tote out to my apiary vice trying to pull a big old trash bag that may rip on me. So again, in my storage shed, I've just got the bag of pine straw. Here, I've just got a 5-gallon bucket that I bring out to the apiary with me at a time. Again, when I get ready to use it, when you buy it, I've heard some people complaining when you buy it on Amazon, it'll come with sticks and things. I personally don't worry about it. I throw out the sticks anyway. Whenever I break it up in my apiary and I get ready to use it, I just toss the sticks aside. It's not a big deal. So how I'm going to use this, I'm going to clean off my area here a little bit. And I'm going to pull up my favorite smoker. Again, you can see it's well used. So I've got the burn cage to keep me from burning my fingers inadvertently. And then it's got the fire chamber. If you can see it from that far away, inside my burn chamber, you see it's like any fireplace that you might have in your house. When you burn something, after a while you're going to get creosote building up. If that happens, you can take any type of tool. You can use a pocket knife, you can use a hide scraper tool, and just scrape some of that out. I usually try to scrape out mine when it builds up where I can see it dimpling quite a bit. Usually that's about every 2 to 3 years I'll scrape out excess creosote, because in theory you could catch this creosote on fire, and then you have a bigger issue. Again, not a big deal because it's a small fire chamber. And when you get done with the using the smoker for the end of the day, you can simply, a lot of people simply take a cork and then trim it down to where it fits in the end of the smoker here to cause the smoker to basically suffocate the fire. In my case, I live out in the country. I just have a 55-gallon burn barrel, and I use this. I go to my local metal store or blacksmith and have them cut me a square of that extruded metal that has the small holes in it. I just put that on top of the burn barrel. After I put my stuff in it to burn, I just put that extruded metal on top of it, and that keeps any flame coming out. I realize most of you probably don't have that, but so what you can use as a substitute is you can simply go to your local hardware store and buy a metal trash can. Put the metal trash can up on about 3 cinder blocks just to keep it from coming in contact with the ground, so that the hot metal doesn't touch dry leaves and set that on fire just from the heat alone. Again, just elevate it off by the 3 cinder blocks. You put the smoker inside that if you wanted to and let it die on its own. Again, or you can simply dump it out and then cover it with the metal trash can with its lid, and then put it out that way. Again, but once I store it, even when I take this back to my storage shed, I also make sure that this is nowhere near anything flammable, so that if I've missed any flame in there, any spark, there's no chance of it catching anything on fire. They do make a small travel metal canister for smokers. I saw it at my local bee store. It's about $120. It barely fits the, it's about just barely wide enough and tall enough to fit a smoker, a 4x10 size smoker, and it has a small pocket on the outside. Again, it's all metal, so you can put extra fuel should you want to, or your lighter or anything like that. But for $120, I'm going with a $20 trash can from Walmart or my hardware store, or in my case, a $10 burn barrel. Again, all right, so now getting on to the business of how you light a smoker. Again, I'm going to put my fuel out of my way here so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my chamber, and then I'm going to take my pine straw. I'm going to form a small bird's nest with it. And then from there, I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to light that. I've got a little bit of wind going here, so bear with me. All right, so I've got in the burn chamber down here, fire chamber. I've got a nice little flame going. So when you light a smoker, do not have your bee suit on, because you can inadvertently burn your veil or your bee suit itself. I had a mentee that was attempting to light a smoker for the first time, and I didn't think about it when I was teaching him, because I'd never burned my veil at that point. And so he went to put it in, and he was leaning over it like this, and the flame shot up through the pine straw and burnt his veil. And then I also, shortly after that, about another week after that, my wife said, "Oh, you got a swarm going on. You got a swarm going on." So I ran out to my apiary and went to check it, and I noticed they were being a little bit more aggressive, or defensive as we call it. So I quickly grabbed my smoker, and I was in a rush, and I had my bee suit on. I didn't have my veil on, because I remember what happened to my mentee. But then I went to light the pine straw, and it flared up and burned my bee suit. So now I got a $300 bee suit. Actually, it's $200 bee suit. It's got burn marks. Fortunately, where it flared up is right underneath where the gloves covered, so it's not that big a deal. The bee suit's still usable. All right, so again, you just form a little bird's nest, and if it goes out, much like it did when I was just talking, again, you just pull it out, again, where you can get underneath it with the flame. I love these long matches or flames, lighters. Again, just get a nice little flame going, put it in, just let it, and then again, you can puff on it a little bit, just get a little air going in there. Then you're going to grab, see it just flared out on me. So then I grab another pile of pine straw, and then from there, just loosely pack it in there. Again, give it some puffs. And you can see nature abhors a vacuum, so your smoke's going to find its way to your face. So again, give it several good puffs, getting it come out. And this is what we call cold smoke or cool smoke. There's no flame shooting out, and the pine straw is keeping it from flaring out on me. Again, so after I've got the initial 2 bird's nests, again, I take about another fist size pine straw, and again, I just put it in there. Again, it's just packing it in loosely. You're not packing it in really tight. I've seen some beekeepers that will pack it in, and they'll pack it in with a hive tool. I just pack it in. Again, if you don't want to risk your hands getting burned, you can simply use your hive tool to lightly put it in there. Again, because I was careful on how I packed it, I just put a small bird's nest in first, then I put, after it was smoking pretty good, then I put my next bird's nest in, and that's when I was able to start putting my hands in there and not worrying about a flame shooting up and getting my hands. So again, you just pack it in, and then from there you simply close the lid. Don't sweat it if you don't get all the pine needles in. You see some of the pine needles sticking out, that flame's not going to work its way through that metal connection, so don't sweat that. And then once you get it going, you want to see nice thick smoke like this. All right, that's a good smoker. And then how we're going to use it, again, is with your traditional, first time I come up to a hive, I'm going to lightly smoke in the front entrance of the hive. I'm not going to barbecue bees, so again, it's just a little bit. And the reason we use a smoker is to mask the alarm pheromones of the honeybees. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke up front just to keep the guard bees from coming at me. And then from there, I'm going to use my hive tool. I'm going to pry up above the uppermost brood chamber. I'm going to smoke in a few good smokes, a good amount of smoke in the top. Again, I'm not barbecuing bees, but a few, maybe 3 or 4 good puffs in there. And I'm going to close the hive up for about 20 to 30 seconds, just to let that smoke filter through. And then from there, I go on about my hive inspections. So that is how you use a smoker. You'll know when it's time to replace the fuel inside the burn chamber by either you're going to see soot, dark soot coming out of the funnel, or you're going to see actual flames come out. You never want flames come out, because again, it'll melt the beeswax. That's a bad thing. So again, once you see soot or flame shooting out, it's time to replace your fuel. If you see that there's not much smoke coming at all, remember, you periodically, as you do your inspections, you want to reach over and grab your smoker and give it a few puffs just to keep that flame going. Because remember, you're using the bellows and the air is going underneath it, the fire, to keep it going. And if you don't do that, your flame can go out. Again, not a big deal. You just simply pull up some of the straw in there. I don't pull all of it out. I just pull up a little bit, relight it, and then from there I put another bird's nest on top of it, and I go back to work again. So that is how you use the smoker. Again, you just pull it up, and if you notice that it's not, the flame's not coming out well, you can simply do like I just did, open the lid up entirely, and then give it several puffs until you see a good flame, a good smoke coming up like that. Once you get that going, then you can simply close it back up and go to work. And smoke's getting in my lungs pretty good. All right, so thank you for watching and enjoy your day.